Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, we're talking about the manipulations of the poor. The manipulations of the poor. Now, we're not talking about people manipulating the poor. No, today we're talking about the poor manipulating people. People who have more than them, people who they are jealous of, people who they could care less about. Just give me, and give me some more. Jesus said that the poor would be with us always. But I tell you that some individuals don't have to remain in their impoverished state. They have enough education. They have enough opportunity. They have enough support. But what's the problem? Sometimes it's a mental issue. Sometimes it's not a mental issue. Sometimes it's just a person saying, listen, I don't want to work. And they do it in so many ways without saying it, because they know that if they were to say that, people would say, excuse me, what are you talking about? I work every day. What's wrong with you? You see. But sometimes people do things to make themselves unemployable. They do things to make sure that they are not approved by a company. They do things to stay away from work and hope that somebody will give them some things. Whether it's a car, groceries, money, housing, a free phone, just give me something. Okay? I don't want to work, but I'm not going to tell you that because I know how you're going to react. But give me. This is the type of people that I've come across. And what's interesting is that they figure because you are a believer, you're going to bend over backwards. Some of you generous types, you know what I'm talking about. Some of you gullible types got sucked into the web of confusion. Your life was pretty easy going until so-and-so showed up along with all of her drama. And now you're trying to figure out a way to stop giving to this person. And she always has a story. The manipulative poor always have a story. We're going to break it all down today. We're going to shine a light because some of you all are trying to get free of some mess. And then along comes some person who's got all sorts of issues. And you want to get blessed, and you figure that if I help this individual out, I'm going to get my blessing. But how much helping do you have to do? So the manipulative poor will come up with a story. Okay? Some folks, they're not that gone mentally not to be able to come up with some kind of story in order to get something that they want. Doesn't matter what it is. It's not always about money. Okay? Sometimes it's about a short-term opportunity. I'll work for so long and then, okay, I'm not going to work for you any longer. I'm going to be a no-call, no-show, or a individual who just doesn't care any longer. I'm going to find the next opportunity. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with some of these people who are the manipulative poor. So the story, let's see, what story are they going to come up with, right? So you got to be one step ahead. You already helped, but then she comes back around or he comes back around with another story. Okay. You got to start documenting stories now. Keep up with the pace or anticipate what the next story might be. So there might be a story involving not being able to pay bills because I had to help so-and-so, and, you know, if you could be able to give me something. There's a story of my kids are sick, my kids are going through, you know, do you think you can help me? There's a story of I don't have a partner, my partner is in jail, and, you know, there's a lot going on right now. Do you think you can do something for me? There's a story of so-and-so just died and I got a lot of things I need to do. I will give you, you know, this or give you that if you help me with this or if you help me with that. Okay, there's some bartering that goes on. There's some promises. There's just a lot of storytelling. Okay, some of it is true. There's always some truth mixed up in the lies. Some of it is exaggerated. It's not as bad as it looks. There is other opportunities or other ways to get out of something, but I don't want to call so-and-so, or I don't want to go over, in that community, or that's not my cup of tea, right? Even the manipulative poor do have their preferences. Okay. And you don't need to know about all of that. All you need to know is this is what I need. Okay. So you being the nice person, right? The one that's seeking out your blessings, the one that's tuning in supposedly to God, but you're really not. You're tuning in on what makes you feel good. So it makes you feel good to give the person the $20 that they asked for, or to give them the ride, or to give them some food, or to open up your door. All of this meets your flesh, because it does uplift your spirit when you do nice things. But then how long are you going to keep doing the nice things? Well, the manipulative poor is going to keep at you with different requests until eventually you snap, or you go off, or you find out they've been telling lies. Okay. And that instead of helping them, you've been helping a drug habit and alcohol addiction. You've been helping that no good boyfriend of hers on the back end, whatever. You find out something sooner or later. Now, the key is to find out things sooner rather than later. Okay. So you suspect that something's not quite right with the story. As soon as you suspect that, that's when you're supposed to pull back. That's when you're supposed to establish your boundaries. That's when you're supposed to, basically show them that you know what's up. Okay. And it's going to hurt them when they really need, because it's kind of like the boy who cries wolf. It wasn't that serious 2 or 3 times before, but now things have really got serious, and there really is a wolf, and I need you to believe me this time. And by that point, you've established so many boundaries that no, I'm not going to believe you this time. I already gave you 4, 5, 6 times. Okay, now tears are coming down one's face. There's some screaming, possibly someone will even fake an illness, fall out in front of you. I remember witnessing somebody fake an illness to get attention, as well as to get other selfish needs met, because that person wanted to be served. Okay. In so many different ways, like bring me food, give me money, help out with the household. So she came up with her little scare tactic, and it worked with one individual, didn't work with the other. Folks kind of saw the fake act. Okay. They will put their children up to doing some things. So you really mean that this is what we're going to have to do? I mean, my mom, she's really trying, and my dad, and I wish that you would just help us. I mean, we're just so poor, and we're so this, that, and the other. Okay. It does pull on your heartstrings when, yes, you do see the truth in some of these things. I mean, there is a sincere struggle that's going on. But when you've already given the resources, you've given the plan, you've prayed, you've told them to go to the church, but yet they don't want to go to the church. Okay. Or they come up with some excuses, or they say Jesus doesn't care, God doesn't care, but give me some money. No, no, that's why you get some of these evangelists that'll say, we'll give you some things, but you're going to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ, whether you like it or not. You're not just going to come up in here and take. You are going to listen to what we're offering. Just like with any of these other organizations, you're going to have to go through this step-by-step program in order to get A, B, and C done. And you're going to have to show up each and every time we have a meeting. You see, there's going to be some prerequisites, requirements for the manipulative poor. And what they'll do is they'll try to manipulate even those setups. Okay, those requirements. Try to work around, claim that they don't understand, or they don't know, or they don't have time, or, whatever, just so that they can skip all of the steps and jump right into, this is what I need. Thank you very much. But you still have that monkey on your back. You still need the counseling. You still need the prescription medicine. No, I'm good. Sometimes the manipulative poor has a very simple request. It could be something like clothing. shoes, right? But I got my clothing, I got my shoes, but don't tell me anything about working. Well, there's plenty of jobs. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And, some of you all who are counselors, you know how this goes, right? And so you establish some sort of requirements. You will even warn them and tell them what the consequences are if they don't do A, B, and C in order to get this thing or that thing or whatever. And still, they've got a story. Okay, remember, there's always the story. And then there's the act, the great finale. Okay, the final act. Some folks are going to act very difficult in order to pressure some people into getting them to do what they want. So there's the intimidation with some of the manipulative poor. There's the screaming and yelling and cursing, threats to sue. There are those that will just all out want to fight. And I saw an individual, he was a man who walked up to someone who was working in housing and looked as if he was about to slap her because he didn't appreciate her saying that he needed to do so many things in order to get housing. And it was one of those situations where an employee had to intervene. Okay. So it can turn violent with some of these folks because they don't like the fact that you're not going along with their program. You're not going to do what they want. And then, of course, you throw in mental illness, and some people will do the unthinkable. They'll say the unthinkable, and you're just left with your mouth open. Like, I can't believe what I just experienced. When you are dealing with people like this on a regular basis, or maybe not on a regular basis, you could just be dealing with a person periodically in your family or elsewhere, you've got to be in prayer because this is a spiritual issue. It's a spiritual issue that led to a curse. It's a spiritual issue that led to an impoverished status. Okay. The opportunities were there, but the person was either not given the opportunities or the person chose not to work for the opportunities, or it's one of those situations where the person was mentally unstable and could not capitalize off of the opportunities, and we're talking about opportunities like what all of us have, opportunities to work, opportunities to be in a relationship, opportunities to care for children, these things that arise in our lifetime that we take advantage of, that we appreciate, that, we work very hard to keep, to maintain. And some of these individuals chose not to do that. There was wisdom along the way. There was the grandmother who talked, the mother who talked. There was the uncles. There was the cousins. I mean, these people were not ignorant to what was happening, but they chose to make different decisions, or other people chose to make these decisions that put them in an impoverished state, which ultimately brought on a whole lot of curses on themselves as well as any offspring that they had. And the thing is that some people knew what their situation was before they laid down and had sex and before the baby showed up. And now that the baby showed up, well, now these babies are an opportunity for me to get A, B, and C. You see, there's a game that some folks run from the start of recognizing they were played by someone else. And so then they turn around and they play the system. They play the organization. They play their family members. They play their friends. Okay. You start doing some interviewing of other people and you find out that the same game that was ran on you is the same one that they ran on everybody else. That's the difference between the manipulative poor and the person who's just poor, who I'm not trying to manipulate anybody. I'm not trying to persuade them or convince them that they should do A, B, and C for me. I'm not using children and grandchildren to try to get certain things done on a sneaky level. Not out here stealing, killing, hurting people, all this other stuff. But the manipulative poor, they're going to do all of that and then some, or they're going to try to convince you that they're not into anything, that they're just innocent and that they're just a Christian. Some of them will even go that far to say that they're a Christian, a Catholic, whatever the denomination is that they need something from. Suddenly, they're that denomination. Okay. They walk into the church. Oh, I'm familiar with this, that, and the other. How? Because they've been to about 4 or 5 other Church of God in Christ. So they kind of know what the doctrine is, and they know what it takes in order to get certain things. Or they've been over there to about 3 or 4 different Catholic churches, and so they know what to say. It's just unfortunate, but this is the type of stuff that people do. And if you are that one that doesn't believe that people do this sort of thing, then you'll be the first one that'll be targeted sooner or later. Okay. And then when you see the person, they are sincerely going through the struggle, you still have to maintain your own sanity. You cannot get caught up in the emotions of others. Okay. Because then if they see that, then they'll see that as a weakness in you, even though you're just being compassionate and loving and understanding, but they'll see that as a weakness and they'll play into that. And so the first time you give them something, then they're going to come back around for the opportunity again for you to give. And then the next and the next and the next. Okay. So this sort of thing hurts. I know some individuals, when you see that the money wasn't used for what it was supposed to, or the person did not go for the food but went for the drugs, or the children are still being abused, and it seems like no one cares and all of this. But at the end of the day, though, you've got to take those burdens over to the one true God and allow him to take the anxiety, the worry, the fear, because some people fear even the manipulative poor because they were not there for them when they really needed them. And so the poor individual or group, they may be thinking about revenge, wanting to, hurt that person. So there's that worry that some caseworkers and psychologists and psychiatrists and spiritual counselors and people in customer service who had to tell somebody no shows up. Okay. And so you give that over to the Lord as well, because there's no reason to be walking around in fear. For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And that's Bible. Okay. So for those of you all who are feeling that way, that is not a healthy way to feel. And so you ask the Lord to take that away. You listen to meditative types of sounds to raise, your vibration, your energy, to uplift your spirit. You stay positive. You get around positive individuals. You talk with people about what your concerns are, who can protect you, who can help you. There's no reason why you should be walking around that way, because somebody was intimidating, or somebody may have walked away and you thought they were going to be peaceable, and then they turn around and they want to meet you somewhere and hurt you. Okay. No, that's what the authorities are there for. And if you feel that that's what's about to go down, or somebody's harassing you by calling you a lot and you think that they're not going to do anything, think again. Get on the phone, talk with the local law enforcement, show up at the station, make sure you got a restraining order or protection from abuse from an individual who may not like the fact that you are standing your ground and that you're not willing to risk your job in order to help them. Okay. So these things are real, and we just ask that the Lord continue to be with each and every one of us who are in professions as well as out of professions, but just helping family members and friends to protect us, to keep us from all harm and danger. May Psalm 91 be upon us in Jesus' name. And for those individuals who would like to put their particular nonprofit organization or resource that can help people dealing with any number of issues, by all means, share that with me so that I can include that in the description box for anybody who does come through and sincerely needs some help. Well, blessings to you. Thank you as always for listening. to YouTube, NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to check the description box for anything that might be of interest, and blessings to you.